I'm so grateful to welcome you to the miracle behind the miracle. Okay, everyone talks about healing, but real success is what happens after. Integration is the miracle behind the scenes, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. My name is John Jacob Mubarak, and I'm really grateful to be here in Jerry's time slot. I'm so grateful to just acknowledge that I get to step into this spot where Jerry's normally speaking on Tuesdays. And I want to also remind you, as Jerry always does, that we are coming to you live from Rythmia Life Advancement Center in downtown Guanacaste, as my brother Jerry would say. And this is a container where transformation happens, real transformation happens every week. I've had the great privilege of being here for over 8 years and seeing literally thousands of people transform, advance their lives in ways that were unimaginable a week before they came. So that's Rythmia. And what happens here is a soul merger where we come back to a state of wholeness. We come back to a state of the true inherent wholeness that we are. And this is what I want to talk to you about today. Today's topic is the miracle behind the miracle. And this is how real success isn't just what happens in ceremony, but it's really what happens after. So, there's this shiny moment, right? There's a moment where people, what they usually call the miracle, right? This moment of like insight, clarity. I just was talking to a lady today in class. One of the other amazing things about Rythmia is we have this amazing curriculum that everybody who comes here says, it was the classes that really helped stabilize the insights that we had in ceremony the night before. This is really what integration is. So I had a lady today, really beautiful. She was like, I got it all last night. It was her first ceremony. I got it all. I saw who I became. I merged with my soul. I healed my heart. I was able to forgive my parents. Not only that, I got a clear instruction on what's next in my life. I was like, I know exactly who I need to speak to, exactly what I need to do. I got all this clarity and download. And that's like this shiny moment. It's this moment of like insight, clarity. I understand how the world works. Oh, I saw the workings of the universe. That moment is precious and it's real. What it requires, though, is that's just the spark. That's just the spark, right? So let me give you an example of a classic miracle at Rythmia. Why did this one guy come? There's so many. I'm trying to think. One guy came. He was here to heal. He was divorced. He was getting divorced, and he was just healing from the separation and all of that. It was really what brought him here. So he's in the medicine. I see him in class the next day, and he says, "I saw this vision. I saw a vision of myself at 6, 7 years old. My parents were getting divorced. And I remember," he goes, "I've always remembered this, but I never knew why I remembered it. But I remember driving with my dad. My dad was driving us across country to take us to our new house. Like their parents were getting divorced, but the dad was helping drive them. And then he was going to go back to the West Coast. And the guy said that he always remembered being so happy driving with his dad, feet hanging out the window, in the U-Haul. And it was so cool. That was his memory. But he said in the medicine, he went back to that memory and he saw himself being really sad and really scared, not knowing what was going to happen after his dad returned home. And he had suppressed that part of the memory all of his life. And then he got to be his dad in that vision. He became his father and he reparented himself, telling himself all the things that he needed to hear at that moment, what he didn't get at that moment. He was able to go back, time travel back, and give himself as a 6, 7-year-old what he needed as an adult. He gave that to himself. That was the healing. That was the soul merger. And that's a classic example, right? Now he's going to go back into life. I feel like I got it. I figured it out. I know what caused my issues of people pleasing and no boundaries and codependency and addiction. I saw that it was this experience that I had, my parents getting divorced and me being so scared. And I used all those things to numb out so I didn't feel this feeling. I saw that. I came back together with my soul. I merged and I was able to forgive myself and forgive my father. It's great. Now you go home. And an old pattern emerges after you get back home. And this is the thing. People often think that the peak is it, but in reality, it's just an invitation, because many people get back home and then they feel confused or disoriented. Why? Because real healing isn't just the light show, right? Real healing is a way of life. And that's the other piece. That's the integration piece that happens. So success isn't found in the vision. It's found in the practice. So integration is letting the insight become a behavior. It's embodiment and it's making new choices. So in integration, there's 4 steps to integration. The first step is, we call it unconscious incompetent, then conscious incompetent, then conscious competent, then unconscious competent. I'm going to use the example of learning to tie your shoes. So originally, you were unconscious and incompetent at tying your shoes. You didn't know about shoes. You didn't know about laces. You didn't know how to tie them. Then you had an insight. You realized they're shoes. I got to tie them. I got to put them on before I go outside, but I don't know how to tie them. Mom, Dad, tie my shoes. So you were conscious but incompetent. Then you learned how to tie your shoes. You became conscious and competent, but you didn't learn how to tie your shoes all at once. Sometimes you could do it. Sometimes you couldn't. When you could do it, you had to concentrate really hard for a while. And you stayed in that loop of conscious, competent, conscious, incompetent. And you had to keep choosing. No, I'm going to learn how to tie my shoes. No, I'm going to try it now. Sometimes you didn't have time. Mom and Dad were in a hurry. Let me do it for you. You didn't do it. Other times, all right, let's take the time. The bunny goes through the hole. You do all the stuff. And you do that over and over again until it becomes embodied. So this is integration, conscious incompetent, conscious competent. You go circle through there until it becomes embodied. An embodiment, you are conscious, you're unconscious and competent. Now you don't have to think about tying your shoes. You just do it. It's embodied. This is the process of integration. So first you come to rythmia, unconscious incompetent. I didn't even know. I knew I had these issues, but I didn't know it was this time when I was 5 that caused this. Or that this story that I've been telling myself all these years, I didn't realize it was a deeply ingrained pattern. But now I see the pattern. So you become conscious, but you're incompetent. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to change it. And then you get the insight. Oh, all I got to do is these things. You become conscious and competent. Then you go home and you get triggered again. Let's say anger was the thing you wanted to work on, and you released your anger. Then you go home, and the next thing you're in traffic and you have road rage, right? You're like, oh, fuck, I didn't heal it. Well, that's the conscious competent to conscious incompetent. And we get to choose. Real integration is letting the insight become a way of life. It's creating boundaries. It's speaking your truth. It's changing your morning routine. It's ending toxic cycles. It's a seed. Insight is the seed. Integration is watering it every day. Integration is watering it every day. So integration is the miracle, the moment, the shiny moment in ceremony, the shiny moment in the retreat. That was the insight, and now you're going to embody it. And it's a bridge. The bridge is our spiritual practice. Our spiritual practices help us to embody and to be able to be mindful in the present moment, to choose again. If you forgave somebody in ceremony, now you have to forgive them again and again and again. It's not a one and done. Here's why. Because we have this moment of insight, but then immediately the old patterns come back. And it's going to be a little while of those old patterns still resurfacing and us choosing again and again until it becomes embodied. And there are some common pitfalls. People come to rythmia and expect, suddenly life's, to suddenly work, right? All of a sudden life works. Well, life will be the test. Life is actually the curriculum. Okay. Life is going to keep showing us what we need to heal. And oftentimes we try to rush change or isolate and think we have to figure it out all on our own or expect others to change first. But the key isn't to recreate the peak that you experienced in ceremony, but to stay connected to the truth that you received in ceremony. That's the key. You don't want to stay connected to the shiny moment. You want to stay connected to the truth. I'm okay. I've always been okay. I'm a good person. I'm loved. I'm lovable. I'm worthy. I'm valuable. I'm enough just as I am. I'm safe right now. That's the truth that you received in ceremony. And now we have to stay connected to that truth through our spiritual practices. Spiritual practices are the bridge that help us stabilize these insights. Breath work, meditation, yoga, nature connect, cold plunge, movement, diet, nutrition, all of the things that help us to stay grounded, stay connected. So success isn't in the ceremony. Success is in the becoming. So how you integrate the miracle. I'll share with you, forgiveness is a miracle. And, there's someone that I'm working with in my life right now that I have forgiven many times. But then something comes up and I see a picture or someone talks about them and an old feeling comes up. And I go, I thought I healed that, right? So here is the story of how integration is the miracle. So in ceremony, I had the vision. It felt like I forgave them. And then I see them or they're mentioned or I see a picture or a post or something, whatever it is. And the old feeling of unforgiveness comes up. That's when the shiny moment becomes an integration moment where I get to choose. No. So for the example of forgiveness, I do a simple ritual every time they come up and I feel that old feeling of unforgiveness. I say again, I gently release you with love. I'm cutting this cord of entanglement. You're free. I'm free. We're good. All is well between us. I choose to release this now and I let it go. And that feels a little better. And then something else comes up again. And I don't know if you guys do this, but you have a conversation in your head with the person, like you have all the things that you would never say to the person in face to face, but you're saying it now in your head, right? That comes up again. I get to choose. I'm releasing this. I'm gently untangling myself from this cord. I imagine that I'm unhooking a cord that goes from my heart to their heart, and I'm just unhooking it and I'm gently letting it go, not out of anger, but out of love. You're free. I'm free. I love you. I may not like you, but I love you. It's all good. We let this go over and over again until it's embodied. This is the miracle of integration. I faced resistance with this at first, but then made aligned choices over and over again. This is the real miracle, that we get to be at cause, at agency in our lives. We apply mindfulness and awareness to these old patterns. As we observe them over and over again, they lose their power. They lose the control that they have over us because I'm choosing and choosing and choosing. Eventually, I find success as peace and alignment, right? That it may not look really flashy, me forgiving this person over and over again, but it's free and it's peaceful and it's authentic and it's real and it acknowledges it's not a one and done. The real work is in making integration a way of life, in choosing over and over again, staying connected to the truth that we received in ceremony. So, what's one way in your life that life is already reflecting the miracle you received? Or where are you being invited to live your miracle more fully? Like where could you where could you find a place in your life where you're choosing again, where you're choosing to stay connected to the truth that you received, whether it was in meditation or in ceremony or at a retreat or in yoga, wherever the insight came, you want to stay connected to that insight, stay connected to that truth, and choose it over and over again. There's a 9-week window of increased neuroplasticity post plant medicine experience. And it's in that time that we have the actual ability to reform, remold, recreate the neural pathways, these old pathways of unforgiveness, of fear, of doubt, of worry, of lack, of limitation, of not enoughness, of I'm not safe. Those old pathways, you get to re-engineer them and choose a new way, but you choose it over and over again. It's like the old pathway is a well-worn path in the jungle, like an animal trail. The new pathway, you just cut that. That's not a well-worn path. So I have to keep choosing. I'm going to come to a crossroads and I can choose the old way or the new way. Sometimes I default to the old way, but the more I choose the new way, the more that path gets privileged. The more I'm walking down that path, the more ingrained it gets. And then eventually that's the path I automatically choose. That's called embodiment. And this is the real success story. This is the real miracle. This is the miracle behind the miracle, integration. So I'm so grateful to have this moment to share this with you. So grateful to have this opportunity. This day is a day that 10 years ago I would have dreamed about. I want to share that with you. Maybe 15 years ago. 15 years ago, I was working in an office wondering, well, I remember this moment thinking, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to go back to the office. I don't want to do anything other than work on my spiritual growth and development. And then I realized, not only do I only want to work on my own spiritual growth and development, but I want to walk that path with others. And then I realized I want to be in service to this grand idea of love, this great plan of love where there's a world that works for the best and highest good. That seems really big, but I wanted all three of those things. And I just wanted, that's all I wanted to do. That was 15 years ago. Today is one of those days. I woke up this morning, a dear friend's mother passed away. They're in a different time zone and they wanted me to officiate the funeral online. So I was up at 7. I was up way before then, but 7 o'clock, officiating a funeral, a celebration of life and being of service to my friends and their family. Then I left that, came to Rythmia, got to teach Reverend Michael's material at Rythmia. Wow. Had a beautiful class, talked with guests after class, had some sharing and some insights. Then I walked over here. I get to do a Facebook Live, sharing more of insights, getting to be myself. I'm going to leave here and have another Instagram Live for another project that I'm working on. And then tonight, I'm in class, taking a class that I love, keeping myself engaged and expanding. So all day is just about spiritual growth and development. This was a day that 15 years ago, I prayed. Today is a day of answered prayer. I want to tell you that there's something seeking to emerge within you. Trust it and trust that prayer is answered. Trust that you are the creator of your life experience and you get to create what you want. And it's totally possible. All things are possible. And spirit has more ways than there are stars in the sky to deliver you your good. More ways than there are drops of water in the ocean. More ways than there are grains of sand on the beach. How that good comes, we just have to stay open to receive all the ways in which unexpected good and unexpected kindness can come into our lives. And your life, my life, we continue to transform as we make the moment of insight into our daily practice, make the moment of insight into a way of life. So I'm so grateful and so thankful to get to share this with you. And I'm going to be back at 1 o'clock or noon Pacific on Thursday, 1 o'clock Mountain, 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern for Walking the Path. Be back for Walking the Path, and then be back for I Got My Miracle on Saturday. I'm super grateful that I get to do all this and I get to hang out with y'all. Thanks for hanging out with me. Peace and richest blessings.